Legislation buried for the cost of billion-dollar backroom deals that profit from our loss. What good is tomorrow if born to die in waste? Is trust just an illusion? Is a promise a mistake? And as sure as the sun shines, as sure as the grass grows and the rivers flow, I'll be there beside you, pulsing through your veins. You'll feel my heart, you know. Time has come to recognize deceptions of the past, seek truth and stand together at last. Sure as the sun, sure as the trees, and the rivers flow free, I'll be there, I'll be there, you can count on me. I'll be with you when we stand together at last. As sure as the sun shines, as sure as
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to UCY.TV. Hello, everybody in chat. Glad you could make it, listening downstream. We're going beyond survival tonight with Prepper Chick. She's joining me. She's down, and like I have, escaped winter. I'm out west, and she's down south in the sunshine shade of Florida. Welcome. Glad you could come in. From the cold. I think it's starting to snow now. Hey, thanks Phyllis Sinclair for that music. I appreciate it. I'm working on a new intro as well. Thanks. Oh, we got a bad problem on course again. Prepper Chicks is on here on UCY, right after dark that comes on Tuesdays, and also I got it. Can't hear me. Okay, hold on just a minute. I think I hung up on her. Then I'll call her back. And I got a message. Let's see. Mr. O'Chelly. All the way? Uh-oh. It may be nobody hears me at all. Nobody hears me? Dadgummit. Hello. Yes.
Hello, hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I can hear you now. Sorry.
Good. Okay, noise is gone. Thanks, Charles. That's Chuck O'Chelly from the O'Chelly Effect on on Saturdays. So we'll get rolling here now. So glad you could join me. You, like I, have escaped winter from. Oh, I'd hate to be back there in the bitter coldness. So you're down in Florida, and I'm out west. And tonight we're talking about beyond survival. And Prepper Chicks reminds you that ignorance is dangerous and knowledge is power. So being forewarned and foreready for a number of any number of scenarios is very important. And so we're just going to run through some stuff and check it out. Wolf Pup says, I'm hearing far distant voices. Hey, cut back on the acid, bro. So anyways, welcome, Prepper Chick. Now I got tongue tied.
Hey, thanks for having me here. And I do apologize. I'm on Skype on my phone outside of an amusement park in Orlando, Florida. So we have, if you hear screaming, it's not that I'm harming someone. It's somebody on a roller coaster.
All right. So I went out on a camping trip here. I was a little more than 2 weeks and just got back last week. And here in about another week and a half or so, I'm going back out. I'm going to get out on Lake Mead, when closer to the city where I can scooter in on my Bridenstine, my new Foxy moped I bought while I was down in Quartzsite. Got it all the way back up here to Vegas, stopping off in Lake Mojave along the way. Had a great time. You know, even being a prepared person, you know, there's always stuff that'll sneak up on you. So even if you're a pro prepper, a survivalist, I hope that we can all learn something from one another tonight, because being forewarned, yes, you know, man, and ready to go. Yeah, I think a bug out bag's a good idea. And in discussing probably here in a little bit what's in that. Let me go check that message. Can I call you Lori on air, Miss Prepper Chick?
No, please do so.
Can you? No, please do so. I'm confused.
You guys, some people call me, you know, PC, and it's like, oh, I'm so not politically correct. So, yeah, just Lori's fine.
Great. Yeah, you're awesome. Got a great program right here on UCY. You're on Tuesdays at 8 a.m. on the East Coast, and then Tuesday nights also for Prepper Chicks After Dark. And then we replay that through the week, starting off in the mornings at 8 a.m. We have some replays of Prepper Chicks After Dark. And you have some pages here. Let me drop back over and some sites. Let me get back over here and see if I can see them. I might have buried them too deep. Wait, I know where they are. So, yes, prepperchicks.org and ucy.tv/prepperchicks. On Twitter, Prepper Chicks, Pinterest, the same, and YouTube, find her Prepper Chicks.
Yeah, we keep it simple.
Yeah.
Just for Prepper Chicks. That's where we are.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, my brother, I told him that you're going to be my guest tonight, and he goes, Prepper Chicks? The Prepper Chicks? And I said, yeah.
That's hilarious.
He said, oh my God, he said, tell her I love her stuff. So.
Awesome. Tell him thank you very much. When I head out your way, I'll be sure to stop in and give him forewarning.
Yeah, my brother's a bit of a prepper, and so anyways, yeah, I got out and I was able to test my rocket stove I built.
Dude, that thing looked awesome. I was following it because we're friends on Facebook on our personal pages, and it's like you were building this rocket stove. And it looked awesome. It's like you were going camping and trying it out. I'm still waiting for you to upload your pictures and stuff.
Yeah, I've got some videos up. I'll put them all together and shoot them over to you and check them out later on.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the one I built. Of course, I've got some others on what's that? Where I got pictures at? Oh, Flickr. Yeah. Anyways, I've got another rocket stove with actually. It's like a mass heater involved with it too, and I'm using Freon tanks, which will be like heat batteries or heat banks. And anyways, my friend ran out of oxygen on the cutting torch, so I didn't get around to finishing that one last year. But it'll be a project when I do get back home. I'm not in a hurry to get back home yet. I'm gonna stay out west for a little while and ramble around up and around, maybe up north and stuff. But anyways, I'm enjoying myself. I'm fixing to head back out. I think. The kind of like the roughing it, getting out there. It's just, like tomato plants in spring, you want to harden them off. So,
and I think that's awesome because a lot of preppers, they read the stuff online and they collect things, but they don't actually get out there and use them. And then they expect when something does happen that it's going to save them. And yes, those are my air quotes going off like no tomorrow. And I think you guys that get out there and they show this stuff that it actually works, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm loving it. The rocket stove has worked really great. I've experimented with a lot of different fuel types in it, and how to load it, because like the big one that you seen where it's shooting flames up about 2 feet up, it was, I'd stuffed the top and the bottom and it was slow to start because I had it so choked. But I tell you, the easiest way, and I watched, I've watched hundreds, I guess, of, rocket stove videos, man. And the one I'm not finished yet, that one's going to be so cool. It's completely unique to, my own design, which, I know.
What are you going to make it out of?
Pardon?
Or is it going to be out of the same material from the other one, or
no,
something else?
It's made out of steel pipe and 4-inch square tubing and lots of steel, and it's also kind of punk steam art looking too. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, it's going to be sweet. I'm going to love it, and it will. I'm expecting it will. I've got a trailer, a 20-foot camp trailer, and it will fit in there. I've already got a place for it where I put a stove last winter before I escaped. Anyways, yeah, I know it will heat that really, really good, and it'll hold the heat, so you don't have to maintain a fire, because you've got all that heat stored up in the mass. And ideally on the exhaust on a mass heater, you want a low temperature, you don't want heat and smoke. It won't have heat and smoke coming out because it's going to burn the top of the exhaust right there, and before it turns back down, it burns about 2,000 degrees right there. You exhaust that through some material through a pipe and surrounded by cement. We'll keep it simple, cement and pipe. And, that will store the heat and radiate it back out over time. Whereas when a fire dies out, the heat's gone except for what heat you have from coals. In a fireplace, all your heat goes up the chimney. A wood stove's not even efficient. So, I can boil, about 2 cups of water with a handful of just small twigs, whatever. It's stuff you can pick up off the ground easily, and just a little bit more to feed probably. But anyways, yeah, it's a great one. The one I took with me, I built it out of 2, the camp size propane, bottles and cut those and made it into an elbow. And then I made a rack that, suspended it from it. And from there I just kept adapting, and I ended up with a tray, stainless steel tray, and I make it where it'll come in there and snap in attachment, and it holds it up and suspends it, and a couple of little bells and whistles on it. But I'd like to redesign it where it collapses down into almost the size of the pipe itself. I'm also looking at building some out of some air cans, the ones that you spray your computer off with. Those look pretty good, or some MAP gas containers because they're thicker. But I like this idea with this air can because it will be so light, like a backpacking.
Right. Yeah, I had my kids build one a couple years ago when we were out just messing around in the backyard. We just picked up 12 bricks and put them together and built one, and they thought that was the neatest thing. We put a pot of soup on top, and before you know it, we were eating. I mean, you can make them out of just about anything.
Yeah, I discovered the rocket stove by accident, actually, I guess about 3 years now. Back in 2011 on my camp trip, I went up into the little part of Arizona between the Red River Gorge, or Virgin River Gorge, it's so pretty there, and St. George, Utah, off the little strip in Arizona. So I built my camp. Of course, I brought all my camping supplies, and then I just went and improvised and built me a camp. And that's what I'm going to do again this next time. I'm going to go build me like a little bug out. It's like a kid building a fort, It's fun.
Yep.
So, I found a piece of pipe. So I built my camp out of a bunch of stuff I found throughout the desert. And I found a piece of pipe maybe about 1 foot long and 8 or 10 inches across, and kind of just propped it up off the ground where I could get air under it, and I was just loading it on top, and I bent me a little piece of wire and made a rack over it, and I was cooking, my potatoes and whatnot, and cooking, putting a pot on it and all that stuff. So I discovered the rocket stove by accident. Then also I had found one of those like 5-gallon metal tin, popcorn cans, like you get at Christmas time. And so after I built me a whole bed of coals up in that pipe, I'd set my onions, potatoes, garlic, and, on there, and then set that over the top, and it was an oven, and it baked it up. Oh man, it's so good. So out there was free range for cattle, and that was my fuel source. I used, cow patties, all dried up.
I thought you were going to tell me you cooked a steak over the top of it.
I wouldn't have a problem with that, actually. It actually has a kind of a sweet, smoky flavor to it. And it's no more than just grass is what they're eating out there. They've extracted nutrients and plop it on the ground and it dries. Hey, it is a delicacy out here in Africa, fresh some places. So I don't know. My brother's dog, he freaked out. My brother did. His dog was out there. He was out in a bull pasture back in Arkansas. And he comes, his dog's out there eating some fresh bull droppings, patties. He freaked out. It's also a survival food. Believe it or not, you can't eat what cows can because they have 4 stomachs. We don't. So when you can catch the south end of a northbound cow and catch that fresh stuff right there, that is honestly a survival food, and you can eat it, and you will be able to get the nutrients that you couldn't otherwise get if you were trying to eat grass yourself. I've had a lot of people say, "I'll just eat grass." You can't eat grass, okay? There's a lot of plants you can eat, but grass is, if you're down to grass, chew it up, swallow the juices, and spit the pulp.
Yeah, because you'll be, you're going to have hurt going on for quite a while. But the sucky thing is, it's great that we can do this stuff, but unless the government can regulate it, I've seen these rocket stoves, these mass heaters in Upteen Supply in other countries, and they do a fabulous job heating homes and, a little bit bigger than the one you built, but you get the point. But over here, man, if the government can't regulate it for us, they are outlawed like no tomorrow, which is sucky part, because these things are awesome. You've seen it in action.
Yeah. Pretty cool. There's, I was listening to you guys, Tuesday, and, y'all had a discussion on, y'all was playing that game and things that, you would, if you had to have a choice, what would you take with you as far as food and water? And that all depends on, of course, where you are. So. Right. Definitely, water. I'm going to talk about a little bit of stuff because I am out west, and it's a lot easier like back east and in Arkansas and so forth, because there's a lot more stuff compared to the desert, which is pretty scant. But, there is an abundance at times, and sometimes it's complete scarcity, but, you can procure, and before I go with that, I want to say, I think more people probably drown in the desert than they do die of thirst. A lot of people get off in washes and stuff, and all of a sudden they get hit by a wall of water, unaware that it's raining in the mountains down there. So there's a lot of dangers in the desert, from animals and insects and the prickly things. Everything will pinch you, poke you, or bite you. It seems like in the desert, but you can extract from the small resources available around you. There's different cactus that are edible. The flowers are edible. The pulp of some are. Some make the fruit, like the prickly pear, and so on. And for obtaining water, you can, not the cholla, but I forget it right now. Anyways, there's another cactus you can, it's got a lot of mash in it. It's,
I think I'm not going to use the word stalker because I think that's a little strong of a word, but I've been following, Cody Lundeen for a long time, and he actually lives, I believe, out in the desert, and he is, plethora of information for desert living. I've always lived, Ohio, Indiana, those kind of places, so I've never really even been to the desert myself. So, that's kind of out of my forte, but I know it can be done. And there's a lot of information out there, but it's great that you went out there and conquered it too. Yeah,
I would like to share one experience that just showing how things can go bad quickly. I actually came back in a couple of days earlier, and I ran into a problem at Lake Mojave. I was sitting around with some folks, and the guy in the next camp over, he pulled in with his boat. They all jumped on, and the kids, and away they went. And I was like, all right, see you guys. And Then all of a sudden, there goes her dog. They forgot to tie it up. So I like grab the dog. He turns around and bites me right in my hand. Oh. I kick him, and he bites me on my leg. And I was like, he wouldn't back off, man. I bopped him in his nose a couple of times, and he's a pretty big dog. So I grabbed.
This was the last time when you were out there?
Right before I left here from Mojave and come back to Vegas. But I bopped him on the head with a hammer, just lighting up to get him off of me. But that just goes to show you can be in the most perfect, comfortable setting, and anything is possible go wrong at any time. And
oh yeah,
not only in a survival situation like that, which if you were really out into the wilds or whatever, and you got attacked by an animal, coyote, whatever, which they do, you could be in dire consequences. So I washed my wound really good. I had a deep puncture wound, cleansed it. I had some alcohol swabs, the little for diabetes, wipe your finger with one of those right there. So I kept it clean with those. I came with, small amounts of supplies as far as if I was to be going out with a bug out bag into a survival situation. There's a lot of things that you'd want to consider, and there's a lot of sources for that. But,
did you, since you were going into the desert, did you take a snake bite kit with you?
No, I didn't. I was just going to bite them back if I got bit.
Your dinner tonight, dude. Actually, snake is not bad. If you've never had it, we were bushcraft camping one time with a guy and caught a little garden snake, and he bit the head off of it, freaked the kids out. Skinned it up and put it on a stick, kind of wiggled it down on the stick and put it over the fire, and the kids were amazed at how well it tasted.
Yeah, I've had rattlesnake on more than one occasion, and it's a big old muscle and gristle, and if you survival, I'd say eat it, but it's not a delicacy as far as I'm concerned. Some people consider.
Well, it'll keep you alive for a while, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, there's a lot of methods that one could procure, and you got to be careful that you don't expend more energy, more calories than what you consume, like if you're chasing grasshoppers or lizards or something. And both of those really need to be cooked if possible, because they do contain little parasites that get in your belly. But I'd recommend methods of fishing, basically, or swatting a fly for catching grasshoppers. Take your big long stick and make you a swatter on the end of it and swack them before they jump away. And lizards, you could do the same, but they're a little more flighty. They have a farther, can't get near as close on that flight or flight for them. But you can make like a little pole with and dangling a line off there and have you something look like a bug, and you can fish lizards. You can also build traps, pit traps, where you dig down in and the sides are straight up and down. Once they get in, they won't be able to climb back out. And you put them in fine little trail runs and stuff like that. So.
And it's fascinating to see how other people, hunt or build traps for different things. I was watching a video not too long ago. It was a bunch of guys down in Australia that were rabbit hunting. And here in Ohio, we think, you get your big ol', you go out, and these guys were using snakes. And he had a handful of snakes that he was holding by the tail, and he was going rabbit hunting. And the rabbits live underground in their little nest, and they would find a rabbit mound, take these snakes, let them loose. They would go down in the holes and chase the rabbits out. And before you know it, they had traps set on the holes, on the outside holes. They knew they were coming out. These snakes would chase these rabbits right up out of those holes. And, they were coming back with 4 or 5 rabbits at a time.
Cool. Yeah, I remember hunting rabbits as a kid in Arkansas. As the snow was on the ground, you get out in the fresh snow. And so I got an idea early on in life about rabbit trails and, running rabbit trails. So they're kind of deceptive. They turn circles and run around. They got several holes to come in and out of. So yeah, they knew what they were doing to be able to catch them coming out the other hole. Rabbit go down one hole and come out another.
Yes, they will. We raise rabbits ourselves for meat, and I free range my rabbits. I don't put mine in cages. They do have cages in their little community area, but I don't keep them in there unless they're getting ready to give birth or something like that. But they just free range around their pen, but they will dig a hole faster than anything I've ever seen, and they usually have several. So you have to watch how you build their pen. But personally, I think it's one of the best ways that you can raise rabbits.
Yeah, I agree. That's the way when I was like a young teenager, my mom did rabbits up in Moapa, north of Vegas up here, and had a big enclosure and surrounded with bamboo. So they pretty much stopped at digging at the bamboo right there. But anyways, yeah, they run around in there and just as happy as could be.
Yeah, yeah. Disease is usually lower when you do that, but you have to watch, because they do breed a lot, and their litters are quite extensive sometimes. So before you know it, you can have a whole mess on your hands. But
yeah, quick too. So like in summertime, the rabbits get wolves. You didn't up there where you're at. You never have any problem eating them off the ground in the summertime. Because like you hunt rabbits, you got to wait till after the first frost before you eat them.
Yeah, usually with us though, in the summertime, a couple years back, right after we moved to Indiana, it was like 110 degrees. Rabbits do not do well in heat, and we lost probably 8 of our rabbits at that time. They were in pens, so doing some little research and whatnot. We've kept them on the ground since then, and never had a problem with heat after that at all.
When I lived in Texas, about 20 odd years ago anyways, I raised rabbits there, and the fire ants are really bad down there in Texas. It's just north of Fort Worth. But, I put the legs of the pens in coffee cans and then filled them with water and put just a little sheen of oil on top for keep mosquitoes from breeding in there. Uh-huh. But, the fire ants actually climbed the tree, jumped out of the tree when they had babies. That's when they really attacked. But they would jump out of the tree onto the pen and then crawl down and attack the newborn babies. It is awful. Fire ants are terrible.
Yeah, they are. We've run into. Well, I was talking. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law live down here in Orlando, so we're visiting with them before we head back on Saturday. And we haven't seen them. It's a little early, I guess, in the year for them here. But it's one of the things we don't have to deal with in Indiana is fire ants too much.
Yeah, I don't know if they've made it up there or not. They're not in Arkansas where I'm at. I think they have only made it so far north, and then they are hybridizing with natives and actually migrating even
out.
So hopefully they won't keep going north. Those things are a plague for real. That is another situation that you don't want to have to deal with in a survival situation. But you know what? Let's talk some about being prepared, because everybody's not into bugging out, and if things go bad, they're just going to sit in their house anyways. And where are you going to go, right?
I think most people are going to sit in their homes. It's going to take an extreme thing for somebody to get to another location, and those people that have a second location to go to might not even make it there. The only people that I would be concerned about bugging out would be those that live in the inner cities, in large populations like Washington, New York, Chicago. Shoot, they should leave now anyways. They shouldn't wait for any kind of downgrade situation, in my opinion. But, a lot of people are going to die, in my opinion, if something would happen just trying to get to their bug out location. So I think people need to think long and hard before they make that choice and put multiple plans together to make sure that they get there.
Absolutely. And I think a good plan for many would be to, bug in, and that requires preparedness. And you can run through a lot of resources. Most people today don't realize it because, you run down to the store, you grab what you need, and you're back home. Unlike the old days, what is today being called a prepper, people, have their food sources and generally for at least a year at a time, canning and so forth, and with the animals and the gardening and so forth. And in winter, of course, I guess you sit back and enjoy the fruits and
give
you some wheat.
This was, for me, it wasn't really a transition to some degree because I grew up on a farm, so we've been doing a lot of this our whole lives. My husband, on the other hand, grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Whole different animal for him. He went from having to grocery shop at the local C-Town store and, just buying minimums at a time to moving in with me. And it's like, oh my goodness.
I know, I've heard some stories. I love it. Hey, Eddie, big shout out from Brooklyn, eh?
I'll let him know. I think he's on the go-karts right now. Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes, it's a prepper that's out actually enjoying life. Imagine that. I'm not stuck at home, worrying about the world collapsing. because guess what? I'm prepared. I don't have to worry about it.
Absolutely. And, there's nothing wrong with having some extra food in your cupboard and some extra water. A person should certainly be prepared for 3-day power outages.
Minimum 3 days.
Yeah. Just for the simplest little snafu, right?
Yeah, and they have to understand, we're not one of those, oh my God, the world's going to end kind of people. We prep for a plethora of reasons. I had knee surgery. I was off for work for 6 months. Didn't have to worry about anything. What happens if the power goes out with a storm for a week or so? I mean, I live in Indianapolis. We have tornadoes that come through there that could easily knock the power down for any length of time. We've had, this winter was our largest snowfall amount ever. Luckily, we didn't lose power. Well, it was kind of sad for me because I was waiting for it and nothing happened. But, just everyday kind of life stuff, not these big glamorous, the Yellowstone's going to blow up and half of the world's going to cave in stuff. That's not what we're about.
Yeah, in Arkansas, we get, ice storms there and knock power down for, a week, 3 weeks. It was over 3 weeks, here a few years back. And
yeah,
for me, I live pretty basic back there anyways, heat with wood. And, if it's cold out, then you don't have to worry about refrigeration. You rotate, like milk jugs or something outside and back in the house into your cooler inside for, keeping your food cold and stuff.
Right. But how many people think that they have to, when we talk about preparedness, how many people think that you have to build this underground bunker? You have to get all these guns and all this stuff. And it's like, that's not what we do. Well, kind of. But it's more like you said, have some extra food, some extra water on hand, medical supplies, things like that you could, if you needed to, minimum 3 days. I'd look more into 3 months,
right.
And go from there and build up on that. But, I don't know how many times I've gotten, private messages from people or, email, from people saying, oh my goodness, there was a storm coming, snow, whatever, and I'm sitting home. I'm not worried at all. Whereas last year, if this would have happened, I would have been freaking out.
Right. And, don't you hate the ones that they say, oh my God, there's a storm coming. What do I do?
But dude, I went because my husband, Eddie, was making fun of me. I said, let's go. I said, I want to go to the store. I've never really gone to the store before any kind of major snowfall or anything because we don't need to.
Right.
I said, I want to see this firsthand. So this winter, we had a snow coming that they were saying 2 feet or something like that. So, you can tell from the traffic in town, people were edgy. So we went over and I observed it firsthand because I wanted to see what it was like. And it was unbelievable. I mean, we're talking lines worse than Black Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about how, power go out. I mean, in a situation like that, the shelves empty in 3 days. I think Chuck's corrected me and said 2 hours. So.
Yeah. I mean, they were just stripped clean and people were just picking up whatever they could. And I know there were a lot of fights going on around town. Gas stations were running out of gas, normally we'd just be sitting at home in front of the fireplace, playing Monopoly or something. But I don't know how many people said that's what they were doing. And it's nice to have that calmness because then you can think and react to other things that are going on instead of scrambling and, where you get, how you can't think when there's a freak out going on.
Right. Yeah. It's that part of the inner self of, flight or fight. And,
right.
Some people freeze, some people run, some people fight, and each person might, face a situation differently. Which,
being just that little bit prepared gets rid of a lot of that. And now you can think clearly. You can make wise decisions. That's important.
Absolutely. I would recommend if anybody's not got any prep started as far as food storage, simplest thing to do is start with big bags of beans and rice. It's, of course, everything's a whole lot more expensive now, but I mean, if you've got some beans and they sit for 2 years and then they get where you can't eat them, you haven't lost that much. You should rotate your stock ideally.
Well, if you follow the commodity index, you understand what's going to happen. I work in the restaurant industry, so we follow this all the time, and we hedge out, certain products for the future. And following the drought in California, how it affects other things out there, we saw over the winter in I think it was Montana, where the cattle lost their life because with the change in season, the farmers didn't get the cattle moved to the correct fields in time, and they got a huge snow and cold that came through and just killed thousands and thousands of cattle. So all of that's going to affect our food prices this summer. So if you're not ready for it, the price, I know I was talking to my Coop girls, not too long ago, and we were comparing prices across the country. And, now just to go in Indianapolis to buy a pound of hamburger is over $5 a pound.
Wow. Crazy.
Milk, I was checking prices down here in Orlando. It's $6 a gallon, and this is just for generic milk. This isn't even the stuff that's, whole milk or anything.
That's another story. They dehydrate milk and ship it to places like Arkansas and put their local dairies out of business. And it's all part of the big scheme as far as, consolidating the food control.
Yeah, because if they can, I was talking to a professor a long time ago, and we were talking about riots in other countries and what's going on. And, we have, riots for people that stand up now and again and do marches on Washington, but they never sustain themselves. They always, fade out after a short period of time. And we were talking about it, and what is going to happen that's going to create people here in the United States to actually stand up for a change. And we both came to the same conclusion. It's going to come down to food. And right now we're so spoiled here. Everybody, whether we want to admit it or not, we live in luxury, no matter how you wrap it up. And we're spoiled. And it's going to take a huge food issue to go on before people actually stand up and say, hey, I've had enough.
Well, I think we all need to be doing that collectively, together separately, standing up and saying that's enough.
Some people are.
Yeah, some people are indeed.
Yeah.
And that's what it's going to take is, to reach a tipping point before we can make that big change that we really need to see in the world.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us agree that the United States is not heading in a good direction. I've tried to keep up with the news while I've been gone, concerned about what's going on over with Russia, and all of that, and people, what's going on over there, it's not going to affect us over here. Like hell, it's not. And, if that goes south, which it looks like it's heading in that direction, it will affect us here big time. And we need to be ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a pretty place a lot of times, but most people do like to keep their head in the sands. And, some people actually get, so upset when hearing some information like this that, they physically or mentally can't take it in and just shut down. Yeah.
But they have that choice right now because they can turn it off and go to an amusement park and go play. But people in Venezuela, and I think you saw the story I posted, they're having a huge issue right now in multiple countries that we can learn from, quite honestly, here and, adjust our preps accordingly. But, Venezuela, they're rioting over food. And they are down to the point where they're marking people's arms to come get rations. That, if we don't get stuff straightened around here, that's where we're going to end up.
Yeah, be standing in, government handout lines for soup or bread.
And that's not my plan. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid that at all costs.
I hope I'm optimistic that maybe we've got more time, but it could happen any moment. I'm not saying it will or it won't, but, it's definitely good to be prepared for something. I hope I'm back home in Arkansas when it hits the fan, but, right now I'm having a wonderful time out west and, got me a good tan going. I even threatened to get a sunburn, but I did. You might get one out in Florida though,
huh? My nose is already a little red. I will admit that. It's what, 10 till 9 right now, Eastern Standard Time-ish, and it's 83 degrees right now.
20 till.
Yeah. And I was at a shop earlier and the lady was in there and she had a sweatshirt on and I'm like sweating to death and I'm like, well, you could tell who's from Indiana and who's not. It's like, I understand why people from Alaska wear shorts when it's 20 degrees outside. I honestly can understand that now.
I hate the cold. It's terrible. I'm snowbird.
I agree. I like the cold weather myself, the colder. You know, I will admit though, I'm done with the snow this year. But I did look at the forecast and I think Thursday next week we are slated for some sleet snow in Indiana.
See, I'm lucky right here to be in Vegas. Anytime I want snow, I walk out the back door, I look west on top of Mount Charleston and there it is. Beautiful, beautiful sight.
That's just messed up.
Yeah. I'm wearing shorts right now. It's man, I'm almost ready to take my shirt off. It's kind of warm out here. Sorry for y'all folks back east.
Oh, they'll get their day. It's the first day of spring, yay! So it's like labor. It's almost over. You know, they just got to be a little more patient, and then probably within the next couple of weeks we'll be getting into summer because you know spring will be gone. Yeah,
that's yeah. I hate the summer as much as the winter. The hottest part of the summer, that is. In Arkansas, man, when it's humid there, I'd rather take 115 here than 95 back there, I think.
Oh yeah, it's nasty. It is nasty. I will agree with that.
I remember as a kid coming back from Vegas at the end of the summer and back to Tulsa and step off the plane. It's like walking into a big old bowl of pea soup. For real.
Mm-hmm. You can cut it with a knife. It's that thick. But yeah, summer should be interesting. That's for sure. If you do not have a garden started, you're way behind.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And you know what? There's a lot of other methods that you can, if you don't have the space. Well, first of all, if you got a yard, turn it into a garden. But there's other methods. Start out small. Start out with some containers. Grow you some lettuce and some of the good kinds of lettuce in there. You know, you can
just go buy a bag of or potting soil and just cut a hole in it and start growing something. Just sit it there. Put some tomato seeds in the top and grow some tomato plants right out of the bag.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
It's better than nothing. It's absolutely better than nothing.
Yeah, a potato tower, yeah. Man, lots of stuff you can do. And you'd be surprised, I think, at how much food one can produce. Most people that garden have so much produce that they have to beg to give it away. Yeah.
My only concern, and I've said this before, and if we ever had a downgrade situation and you're gardening out of, the standard square foot gardening beds or whatever, be very careful because you're a sitting duck, in my opinion. Learn how to build a food forest around your home. Plant your plants, your perennials, your fruit trees and stuff like that so it blends into the landscape. So unless somebody knows what they're actually looking for, they won't notice it. It'll just look like the normal landscaping. Because, go ahead.
I did some guerrilla gardening last year. I didn't have a lot of luck with it. I did some greens, some of the tougher greens survived, but man, I think there's a lot of fallout from the sky that's really affecting gardening. And a lot of people have been talking around the country.
Well, your chickens. We had problems with our chickens last year, but it was right after some planes had gone over to do some crop dusting. Not sure what they were spraying, if it was for mosquitoes or what, but our chickens are just barely over a year, so they're still within laying age, let's say, and we're doing a fabulous job. And we have, reds, and they're well known for their egg production. But after that plane went over, they stopped altogether.
Hey, so, there's Joe. I see Joe from up around your part of the world in chat. Nice to see you here. Pretty good guy. He's got How to Survive on Facebook, and it's grown.
Oh, awesome.
It's grown into a pretty big group and a great place to find some information. So if you're on Facebook.
I'll say hi. Yeah, I'll say hi to the chat room. I can't see it. I'm not online at all, but we always have a fun time in the chat room.
Yeah. Well, I'll shout out to Desert Hawk, Mr. Jimmy, Ghost of Jimmy, Boiler Room Radio, Hecty. I Am Lone Frog, Joe Friday, Jose's coming up in the next hour. Miss Jules, our wonderful program director and owner here at UCY. Mr. Barnes, Salt Lake City Mike, Top Knot, myself, V. Valton, Joe Reamer, Wopup, Dark Lord. Ooh, sounds anonymous. I mean, I said anonymous. Then on several anonymouses also listening. Welcome everybody. I'm glad you could join us tonight. I'm having a great time talking to Eric. Yeah, we've spoken several times, and I listen to you a lot. So
awesome. Really thanks for asking me. So I have a question. When you go out to the desert and you pack your bug out bag, in your stuff, is there anything in particular that you take different than you would if you would just be going out in Arkansas?
Well, yeah, let's see. You definitely want to have some ways of procuring water here, and I would recommend being able to understand a solar still. Have lots of plastic with you, some Visqueen, some the heavy duty construction 50-gallon trash bags, smaller trash bags, Ziploc baggies, and so forth. So some ways of extracting water is to put a baggie over a limb and twist tie it around there, and the heat will, and respiration of the tree, the transpiration of the tree will produce the water, and the evaporation will then condensate and fall down to the corner of the bag. Also for building a solar still, a lot of plants that if you don't have any source of water, Jimmy last Tuesday said, about digging down. You need to be able to read the country and know where to dig down in a wash area, but sometimes you can find water. But in the heat of the summer, you'll get a dry hole nearly every time unless you're in the right place. So
okay, well, I have a question.
Okay.
Have you ever built a solar still and peed in it?
You can do that.
And then let it evaporate. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize they can do that.
Right. Now, as far as if you're going to put a liquid like pee or some dirty water or whatever in. If you just pour it in, dig you a hole and put your bag over it, a lot of that stuff's gonna, leach out through the soil. So if it's possible that you have enough material with you, lay down, a liner inside. That way it's only gonna evaporate and only gonna condense and come back into your catch container. If you have water that's questionable, Giardia and other, things that you might be able to, run into in drinking groundwater, if you have a plastic water bottle with the lid on it, that you can set that in the sun, and over all day, 6 hours, the sun will actually kill everything inside of it. So water's one of the most important things out west. Back in Arkansas, Jimmy, he's up there, and where I'm at, you can pretty much drink out of a muddy hoof print, But,
yeah, but a lot of people don't know how much, actual water you need to take in each day, especially if you're under stressful situations. But they also don't understand how long it takes for something like a solar still to actually do its job. They think you can just lay it out there in an hour or two, you're going to have enough water to drink, when it's not true.
You need more than one still, too.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important that people start doing what you're doing and actually get out and test this stuff, because when it comes down to life or death, they're going to need that information.
For sure. Yeah. Multiple methods of fire making is very important. My Gerber survival knife, the striker, the part that produces the sparks off the flint and magnesium. Yeah. I whacked it and broke it. So. Yeah, but I've used it already several times. I guess probably, it's mainly my fault for angle of impact, and, my hands aren't real good because I got arthritis or the rheumatoid. So I'm not going to fault Gerber on it. It was probably my fault because I had too many indirect hits on it that, just fractured it. So I think a normal person would probably be able to handle that. But, even a Bic lighter, once it's out, if you'll take that silver guard off around it, you can get a few more lights out of it there. And then, with cotton or some dryer lint, or if you find a good fluffy natural material in the wilds, you can use that, spark off a Bic lighter to start a fire. I think fire starting ability, food gathering and water procurement, and the ability to, make yourself a shelter for protection from the elements. And there's a certain order that you need to really go in, because, you can go without food for 3 weeks without water for 3 days, without air for 3 minutes, and you can get hypothermia in a matter of in 3 hours. I'm just going to stay with 3. So
yeah, and like you said, it depends on the situation you're in. One thing I will advise is don't plan on going without food for 3 weeks, because it will screw with your mind.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, once you're out of food for a while, you'll start losing all sense of ability to think straight. So don't think that 3 weeks that everybody puts out there, they can count on, because everybody needs to, you need to know your body. But the ability, like you said, to be able to do that stuff, that's knowledge preps. And I think we overlook that a lot. Those things can't be taken from you. They're always with you. And, I think Patriot Nurse said at one time, they don't weigh anything. So you don't have to worry about keeping those in your bug out bag. They're already in your head. Learn how to purify, filter water, forage for food. You don't need special equipment for it.
Right. I'd recommend one thing to save. I think the most abundant food source that is overlooked would be small birds. And the ability to catch them is rather actually easier, especially if it's like snow on the ground. Clear your little spot under a bush. But like your onion bags, the net bags that onions come in, or your oranges or whatever, you make some nets and with some snap traps to catch some birds. And so back home, I got of course bunches of stuff from hay twine and whatnot in a big old bag of bags.
Yeah. So where's the fine line? Because I know I've talked about this. Where's the fine line between preparedness and hoarding? Because they're like, oh my goodness, yes, my onion bags. And we save a lot of things because it's like, oh my goodness, yes, this will work for this and this will do this. And before you know it, you're saving everything under the sun. And then you're on TV. You have your own special show.
Intervention.
Exactly. My husband makes fun of me because I'll flip on one of those hoarder shows, and I've never made it all the way through one. Oh
my God, they're not throwing that away.
Well, no, because I get up and I start cleaning my house.
Oh no. Not me. I see them as like, oh, that was good. Wow, why you gonna?
No, they overdo it. When there's fecal matter, that's like 2 inches thick on your floor, and
hey, some poopy's good, okay? That's like, now one of my videos I made on my rocket stove, this time I found some horse dung where somebody had cleaned out their trailer, so I gathered it up. I found also some charcoal where people had dumped that, and also bits from little fires from elsewhere. So, you're not supposed to collect on BLM land and natural parks and so forth any wood. So this is what I did. I did carry some wood in with me, and just so that I was good, but I did grab a handful here and there off the ground. But mostly it was what I did is worked with found materials and used those. So yeah, actually in that rocket stove, it works pretty good with some dung. I started out, it was windy too. Oh man, the wind beat me for like the last 2 or 3 days, man. I mean, just wham, wham, wham. So that morning I got up and I built me a fire in that rocket stove. I put the mouth of it facing the wind, sat in front of it. I loaded my fuel, and I actually started with strictly the dung and some old charcoal that hadn't been all the way burnt. And so I lit a paper towel and put it in the mouth of it, and it took off smoking and smoked for a while. So I said, well, let me go get me a little bit of twigs and stick in there. By the time I got back, it was off and running anyways, and produced a really good hot. Of course, a lot of the heat was blown right off from between the top of the the exhaust there and the bottom of the pot. Because it was so windy, I did lose a lot of heat that way, but I was able to actually cook in that rocket stove, and the winds were probably a good 25 mile an hour anyways.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. They should look into those. Quite honestly, I bought one of the what's it called? BioLite. When they first came out, when they were still prototype, and it's just a rocket stove basically, but it also has an element you can charge phones. The heat from it works a component in there.
Oh, I see one of those. Those are cool. Dude,
it is sweet. I paid like $180 for it though back then. I'm sure they might be cheaper now, but I know there's a second version out. But the thing is nice, but like I said, it's a lot of money. How much did you pay to build yours?
Right. Yeah, I didn't pay anything. I built mine strictly salvage, and I'm good for that. I've been in steel fabrication, and so I've always done just artistic and always been inventive my whole life. So curious, take my toys apart and stuff like that. So I'm good at deconstructing and reconstructing mechanics.
Those have to go hand in hand too.
Yeah. Technologically speaking, I'm a complete idiot. I've been trying to cut a new intro. Sorry, Phyllis Sinclair, I love your music, but it's got me kicked off of YouTube. Just stupid YouTube copyright infringements, they claim, which is not have permission. So anyways, I'm working on that, and I swear computers hate me.
Well, they're evil, like Twitter is evil.
Yeah.
I still haven't figured out Twitter. I never will, probably.
Yeah, I just tweet and go on.
Yeah, pretty much so. But yeah, I mean, there's I can't say it enough. Get off the couch, get out there and do stuff. Don't sit at home worried about the world ending. When if you're even just a little bit prepared, it makes things a lot calmer.
And it's fun. I swear I've had, up until that dog bit me, it's like, I had great fun. And, it was a bad wound, and I did treat it well. And that's something that you should always have on hand, is some means of treating first aid. And alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, and some benzidine. That was right there will pretty much take care of you. And some stuff to bind your wounds or anything like that.
Yeah.
I did have a good survival pack. I had my own sutures and stuff, but I don't have that with me and stuff. But actually sutures and Novocaine and everything.
Yeah, I would suggest extra training for that kind of stuff just in case. I know there was a story this past winter out of Washington, D.C. Some guy, it's good to have your bug out bag in your car, because this guy was walking through all that snow they got, and all he had on was his dress shoes that he wears every day with his suit to work. He ended up losing his toes because his feet froze. So throw some hiking boots or something in your vehicle. It's not going to take any room. Do it.
Right, yeah. And, trash bags will save your life, too, in a survival situation. You can get inside that big 50-gallon trash bag as contain your heat in there. You got to be sure and vent it, because you'll get all wet and stuff, and then you'll really freeze to death because perspiration will condensate.
But really, I mean, how much do you need? I have a small backpack that I keep in my truck, and it's got my boots attached to it if I ever need them for anything. And it's got basic supplies in there that I can get home with if I need to. It doesn't take up any room, and it gives me the peace of mind that's unbelievable.
Yeah. At home and in your car, I think it's very important. And not only just for the fact of convenience, have it all bundled up, in an emergency situation, you've got some stuff right there you can just grab, bam, real quick. Hey, Cracker and Mark showed up in chat. Say hi to them guys.
Hey guys.
Howdy. And I seen JJ. He was here for a second and gone.
Hey JJ.
All right.
I missed the chat room. I want to come home so I can see everybody.
Oh, you know what? Well, I was gone. It was like a physical withdrawal from drugs or something,
Yeah. Yeah, and it sucks to try and look at your Facebook or whatever from your cell phone.
And I only have data. I don't have data on my cell phone, so I even had to go to town to catch a Wi-Fi to even get that much, so. And then trying to communicate on a phone sucks when you're used to laptop.
Here we are bitching about technology and how much we use it.
But it was great, really, too, to just get out there on the ground, disconnect from, the everyday, good computer for a lot of us, is a big part of our.
Yeah.
There's JJ. He's back. Hey, brother. Glad you made it in. Love JJ. It's his fault I'm on radio. Blame him, y'all.
Blame me for everything. Might as well.
I met JJ on that camp trip I was talking about earlier in 2011. We met on the bus, and man, we talked the whole way. And
we should put something together for everyone. Do a major camp trip somewhere in the middle.
Oh, that'd be awesome, huh? JJ's got the Freedom Palooza, man. I've been threatening to make it the last 2 years, and I hope that I could make this one. It's 4th of July weekend. I'm planning just trying to do a big trip around the country this year. And so far I've made it a couple hundred miles from here and back up. So now my next step is out to the lake, and I do want to head up north through Salt Lake, Tahoe, and Oregon, and Northern California, and up to Mount Shasta. But I also missed part of my trip because I bought that moped. So I missed San Diego and LA for meeting up with Nick Burnaby from right here, the Anti-Media, and also Ian Jackman on Saturdays here that I produce for, and JJ does too. We basically hosting the call, and on Facebook I do a lot of promotion and stuff for him. But I really love being here at UCY. It's an awesome family, a lot of great people here that in chat, good place to hang out, lots of great information. An hour from now we got Double Cross Radio, which is one of my favorites, and Nathan Frazier on Sundays, and also Drew Shawley on Sundays, Walter on Saturdays. I mean, all through the week. We got Jimmy, he's on 3 times a week. We've got a lot of great people. Miss you, Justin, by the way. He was going to try to jump in with us this evening, and he had to bug out and go do something anyways. But Justin preceded What Matters Worldwide here, and miss him. But things happen, and we've got to sometimes do things different. Hey, thanks, Anna. Said had been without a computer since December. Good show. Thanks, man. Thank you, Anna. 4811. So I hope you're going to have a blast, and I hope you get sunburnt. And I'm still going to get my sunburn is my punishment.
I have my aloe with me, so I'm good to go.
Well, I think I feel like for escaping winter, there ought to be some consequences involved. So I'm getting a bit of a sunburn.
I guess so. Yeah, that would suck to go back with a sunburn and everybody is still in their winter coats and it's snowing.
Pasty white.
Exactly. I might kick my ass out of Indiana and say don't come back. They kicked me out of Texas once for kind of the same reason, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't mind rubbing it in a little bit. Okay, I'm waylaying Jose. I added him to the call. He's coming in. I think we have Jose with us. Do we have Jose? Hola, Jose. ¿Cómo estás?
I think I'm here.
Yes, he is. And hey, Lori, thanks so much for coming on. Jose's going to come on and talk about Mr. and Mrs. Right, or maybe is there or is there not?
Hey, but first I need to make a comment about Lori. Is that her name?
Yes, this is Lori, the prepper chick.
The prepper chick.
Yes.
Lori, I have to express my disappointment in hearing you speak.
Why is that?
Because you sound so self-assured, so confident. You sound like you know what you're talking about, and obviously you do. When the name prepper chick, I expected you to sound like a bimbo. I expected you, okay, maybe I expected you to know what you were talking about, but I wanted you to have, one of these high-pitched, Southern California girl-type voices and gagging with a spoon and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, oh, this woman this is somebody that I want to be my neighbor so that I can, make sure that I'm going to be okay. But the patriarchal, male in this world wants the woman to be a victim, a potential victim, And
well, they picked the wrong chick for that one.
Yeah.
Your name should be Prepper Superwoman or something like that, because that's what you sound like.
I shall take that as a great compliment. You had me worried there for a minute.
I wasn't worried. I knew about what he was going with. It's like my brother. I'll say it again, like he said. He's like the prepper chick. I was like, yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. All right. I'm just somebody's wife, somebody's mom. I'm a grandmother at this point. I work a full-time job, and we're just doing what we got to do in order to survive.
Well, I'm actually glad that I got to hear you. But to be honest with you, when I heard Prepper Chicks, I went and researched, and I was like, wow, you had pretty good stuff on your site and stuff. But of course, this is the first time I heard your voice, and it's okay. It's okay that you're awesome. there's no charge for awesomeness, but I had to say that to you because really for all this week that I knew that you were going to come on, this is what I was expecting. I was expecting, some girl who's basically just telling me everything that her husband and brothers told her to say, but.
Oh, hell no. My husband just tells me to shut up half the time. Or he'll come, Lori, how do we do this? What do we need to do? And my husband, bless his heart, don't get me wrong. I love Eddie to death. But he's a Brooklyn boy from New York. He would not, well, he does now know how to milk a goat. I grew up raising goats. So yeah, he's the one coming looking for information.
I've been a middleman on fetching goat milk a great many years since from the time I was a kid and up to a few years ago when I had goats back in Arkansas. They're great creatures, except for remember this: you got to fence them out. You can't fence them in.
Yes, they love to have attention. Everybody has to remember that.
Yeah, and goats have a sense of humor.
Oh yes, they do.
I'm actually new to goats for the last maybe 3 years. I'm in a unique situation in that I come from we're Mexicanos, so we're a big family. I think I was kid number 7 or something, right? But I was the youngest and the first that was born in what back then was considered town. All of my older siblings were born in the rancho. They were born in the country, so they called me the city boy. But still, I grew up with the culture, so I knew all about, survival and cattle and, goats and all this kind of stuff. Although I never had hands-on experience until recently. And when I got into the whole, grew up and wanted to be a survivor myself. It's just 3 years ago that a friend of mine got goats and I said, hey, I want to milk your goats. He's like, well, okay, you're welcome to it. And I was suspicious about why he was so eager to let me milk his goats. Well, I found out. I found out. And plus he had a Nubian, which are great milk producers.
One of the best out there.
Yeah, but this Nubian, made us earn every drop of milk that we took out of her.
Oh, yes, we do.
Anyway,
I am going to let you guys go and let my husband and son back into the vehicle now that they've come back to me.
Thanks so much for coming on, Lori. I really loved it. Trailer Park Homesteader just joined us in chat. And,
hey, Sharon.
Yes. Hey, Sharon. I love her page. Check that out on Facebook. And there's also a .com involved. I'll have to go find that to make sure that it is Trailer Park Homesteader. Or pop your link in there. Hey, Lori, thanks again. I had a great time talking with you. My
pleasure. And nice to meet you, Jose, too. So, nice to meet you, Anytime. I will catch you guys when I get home.
Tell Eddie I said, hey, what's up? A big shout out to Brooklyn, okay?
Will do. And I will not do it with the accent. He already makes fun of me because I can't pronounce my last name right. So. I have a very German maiden name, and his is as Puerto Rican as it gets, and I hack it, I twang it like no tomorrow, so they always get a kick out of me.
Love it.
So you guys have a nice night, and I will catch you here in a couple days. But thanks, Vince, again for having me on.
Awesome.
I'll talk to you soon.
Toodles. All right, Jose. So, listen, so tonight, I think, what is it? What makes love? Is when the moon hits your eye like a bigger piece of pie? That's the morning.
Hey, you do accents well. I want to say another thing.
Hey, wait a minute. You're talking to my guy all wrong here, okay?
Oh, he's my favorite.
Christopher Walken, yeah. He'll stab you in the eye with a soldering iron.
Anyway, back to Prepper Chick. I forgot to thank her for not having the typical Southern Alabama type accent. Okay? Because when people think about survivalists, that's what they think of. I'm a survivalist, and I don't have that Southern accent. She's a survivalist, and not that accent is bad, but when Americans, when our society want to think of somebody who's lower in IQ, they want to pigeonhole that person into being either a redneck or a Mexicano, right? And or if they want to pigeonhole a black person, that black person has to have a very strong Southern black person accent, which is different from your typical Southern accent, right? But she came across as an intelligent woman that knows her stuff, and I'm forever going to be disappointed that she didn't have a bimbo voice. Now, the trouble with her speaking is that people like her, in the first place, she's awesome. But she's preaching to the choir, right? Most of the folks that are in a chat room are like, yeah, hey, I've done rocket stoves. Hey, yeah, I know how to skin a rabbit. Hey, we can eat rattlesnake. Why would you want to eat a rattlesnake? But that's okay. I'll forgive you guys.
Very quiet.
Yeah. Well, you see, you get experts on here on your show that are preaching to the choir. And what I love about what I do is that there is no choir on the topic that I'm talking about, right? Relationships, yeah, we all think we're good at relationships. And the reason we know we're good at relationships is because, I'm never going to date another girl like that last crazy chick I was dating. You know what I mean? Well, that's good that we're learning, but we don't have to break a lot of hearts while we're learning. Tonight's topic, hey, what did I say we were going to talk about tonight?
Oh, finding Mr. or Mrs. Right.
Mr. or Ms. Right.
Okay.
Let's get that right? Because she's still single so far. Anyway, right?
Okay. Hey, I'm gonna hit mute, and you know what I'm headed to do? I'm off for a smoke, right. And I'll be right back. Take her away, Jose.
Enjoy your smoke, and I will say that the opinions expressed by myself are my opinions based on my own research, my own observations, and client interactions. My opinions are mine and hardly to be blamed on the producers, sponsors, or other affiliates of this program, especially Vincent. We agree on a lot of stuff and disagree on a lot of stuff, but far be it from me to blame Vincent for the things that I say, or for you guys to blame Vincent for the things that I say on the show. Now, there's a few movies, more than a few movies, I should say, that involve people, and let's face it, the term that we coin is Mr. Right. These movies involve people, usually women, looking for the right mate. Of course, that's an old patriarchal way of thinking, because the idea is that a woman cannot make it on her own. She needs to have a man, and a man only needs a woman so that she can, settle him down and all this kind of stuff. Well, anyway, every year that goes by, we're already three months into the new year, this is the 14th year into the new millennia, and every year that goes by is another year that patriarchy dies just a little bit more. And it's a tough death, because patriarchy wants to live on. And what I mean by that, patriarchy, of course, meaning that the male is in charge, or the man is in charge, regardless of who makes more money, or who's got more power, or who's got more property, or whatever the case might be. Power also, by the way, is a patriarchal concept. There are a lot of patriarchal women out there who want to maintain patriarchy because it's giving them power, actually. Kind of hard to explain, and we'll get into that some other show, or I'll mention it on the fly while we're talking about something else. Oops, sorry about that. When we're looking for our right, the mate that we want to spend the rest of our lives with. And remember, we discussed, I think it was in the first show ever, that a lot of people out there still believe in love at first sight. And of course, love at first sight, we discussed in that show, is more of a sexual attraction, which is okay. Sexual attraction is important in relationships, because let's face it, at some ages, if it weren't for sexual attraction, some people wouldn't get past the phrase, what's in the refrigerator to eat, you know? Or what's on TV, if there's still any people out there that watch television, right? But you know, the sexual attraction, you have to recognize when you fall in love at first sight. I really dislike that term, you know, but it's out there. When you find yourself thinking that you're falling in love at first sight, recognize that it's a sexual attraction. And that's okay. It's okay to be sexually attracted to somebody, right? However, being sexually attracted to somebody hardly makes that somebody Mr. or Miss Right. Especially when you consider that human beings are animals. I know that we're always trying to insult each other by saying, he acts like an animal, or she was crazy, she was acting like an animal. The fact is that most animals actually behave better than human beings. But anyway, the idea is that we're trying to insult people. So when I say that humans are animals, some people out there are being insulted, and they're turning off their internet or clicking off their radio or whatever it is they're listening to me on. And they're saying, I'm not an animal. I'm not going to sit around waiting, allowing somebody to call me an animal. We are animals. We are part of the animal kingdom. We are animals, and just like animals, we have the senses that nature gave us, whether you want to believe that nature is God or God is nature or whatever the case might be. We're down over here in the real world right now, so it doesn't really matter if it was the God that gave it to us or if we got it through evolution. But the thing is, we have the senses: sight, smell, taste, the sense of feeling or touching and hearing, right? We have these senses that allow us to experience things around us, especially other people, when we are looking for a mate. And these senses are very important in determining whether you are sexually attracted to somebody. Sexual attraction is what nature designed animals to experience, and then if you wanted to spend the rest of your life with this person, you do so. But when you're deciding on the sexual attraction, you have to depend on your sense of smell. Well, we can throw out your sense of smell. One, you've probably been hanging around a house with artificial scents most of your life, right? Instead of cleaning the house, people buy one of these plug-in things that smell up the house and make it smell like roses or cow patties or whatever the case might be. Anyway, you're damaging your sense of smell by all this artificial stuff. And then two, the person that you're smelling might be wearing artificial scents, him or herself. And in the case of women, right? Because women wear perfumes. Okay, maybe some women don't wear perfumes, but they wear colognes. Okay, maybe some women don't wear perfumes or colognes, but they still wear makeup. Okay, maybe some women don't wear perfumes, colognes, or makeup, but they still wear eyeliner and lipstick. Okay, maybe women don't wear perfume, colognes, makeup, or eyeliner and lipstick, but they still wear powder. Or maybe they don't wear all those things, but they still wear some kind of feminine deodorant spray. Or maybe they don't wear that, but they still wear antiperspirant. Well, maybe they don't wear all that stuff in antiperspirant either, but they still wear deodorant. Okay, maybe they don't wear all that stuff in deodorant, but they still wash their hair in shampoo. Okay, maybe you're lucky enough to smell a woman who resists using all those artificial scent things, washes her hair with baking soda and rinses it off with vinegar, and bathes herself just in homemade soaps that are scentless, or better yet, washes herself with lemon and baking soda and just smells like a woman, like nature intended a woman to smell. Now you smell this woman, and guess what? Maybe she's the wrong woman for you. Right? But how are you going to know? Because it's all artificial anyway. And even if she doesn't do all that stuff, what if she washes her clothes in a store-bought detergent that smells like, lilacs or lavender or whatever the case might be? But the point is, even if you find a woman or a man that resists all these artificial scents, is your sense of smell still dependable because of all the years that you have spent. You know, you walk into a grocery store, if you go, the first thing that hits you is the smell of all the detergents and all the bug sprays and all these things. These things are damaging to the scent. Anyway, let's pretend that we're in a different world and you actually have a chance and you can depend on your sense of smell and your eyesight. By the way, do I need to go into the eyesight thing? Right? I mean, do I need to, you know, with permanent hair treatments and toupees and facial, what's called plastic surgeries for facial looks, for breast augmentation, for butt augmentation. I mean, can we even depend on our eyesight anymore at all? But let's pretend that we're living in a world where everything is perfect and you meet a person, that this person avoids all these artificial smells, has avoided all these artificial smells, and can actually give you a feeling that this person is genuine, and what you see and what you smell and what you feel is what you get. Right? What I mean by feel is the sense of touch. Just because this person gives you a genuine presentation of him or herself, does that mean this person is Mr. Right? Your senses could still say, I don't think this is the right person, even though your senses should be telling you an affirmative statement instead of a negative statement, but that's another topic, right? Of course, you may enjoy this person's company because this person may have the same kind of values you have, but does that mean that this is Mr. Right or Ms. Right? Okay? You may actually be incompatible, and there are several studies that have been performed in which things like people were like guys were given the instructions to wear one single T-shirt for a whole week and never take it off and never shower, and these guys wore this T-shirt and they did, you know, their basketball training or you know, whatever, they sweated in it and everything, and then after a week they got the T-shirt put in a Ziploc bag and then gave it to the people doing the studies. And what the experimenters did was they took these T-shirts and they took a history of the person who donated the T-shirt, and then took a history of a certain set of women. The guys wore the T-shirts and turned them in, and then the women who smelled them, when they smelled the stinky T-shirt, and the woman that was attracted to this T-shirt, some people were actually repulsed by certain smells, certain T-shirts, but some women were attracted to those same T-shirts. And when they took a medical history of the woman, it turned out that, for example, the woman had a history of diabetes in her family, and the T-shirt to which she was attracted, the donor of that T-shirt had a history of very strong genes that resisted diabetes. So that if these two people were to get together and mate, remember, they're getting together on a sexual basis. If she would have smelled him, she would have said, "Ay, papazote, I love you," right? They would have had sex. She would have had a baby that was less likely to be diabetic because of the genes of her mate, and vice versa, right? Women who had, strong genes were attracted to possibly a male who had the weaker genes. So she was going to be able to donate the strong genes to their offspring, and so on and so forth. And these are things that these tests have actually been repeated and have been demonstrated to be accurate. Are they true? Who knows? Who knows? All I can tell you is, by today's standards, we expect a woman and a man to get married, and I've said this before, who knows why they would want to get legally married in the first place, but we expect them to stay together till death do us part, right? Or till they come and see Jose and learn some skills on how to make their relationship better. Okay? in this society, we expect people to stay together for some reason, probably because of the Judeo-Christian beliefs that have been handed down or forced down, from generation to generation. Now, we expect people to stay together, although there's really very little guidance as far as what staying together means. There's some expectations, but everybody has different expectations. Okay. As part of these expectations, we have come up with, in our society, we have come up with certain language, right, to mean that you've found the person you want. This language includes words like, I found my soulmate. He's Mr. Right. She's Miss Right. Right? She's my better half. And all these other terms. If you guys in the chat room can think of any other terms, feel free to type them out there. Maybe Vincent will read them off for me because I'm really bad at reading the chat room and talking at the same time. I used to be coordinated, but I'm losing some of it. What the heck, right? Anyway, what happens is we put a lot of credence into these myths that there is someone out there for you. There's someone special out there for you. Other myths. What's that, Vincent?
Okay. I'm not sure if this falls in the parameters, but here's your question. When did deodorant and antiperspirant become popular?
When did it be? Well, heck. I actually know the answer to that, and I have forgotten it because I did a lot of research on it about 10 years ago. It turns out that deodorant is I'm trying to think of a positive way okay, deodorant is less historical than people realize. Of course, people who are 30 years old today have had deodorant all of their lives, have known deodorant all of their lives. But deodorant really got popular in the 1970s. Okay, I forget exactly when deodorant was invented, but I remember when I was doing my research, I said, wow, I was 15 years old in 1975. I was wearing deodorant because I thought everybody wore deodorant, but actually deodorant was just hitting its market in the mid 1970s, and it was along with hairspray was real popular. But when deodorants were getting popular, they had actually come up with a certain deodorant for men and a hairspray for men that was sold in a package together. I remember almost choking to death at the boys' locker room after showering because all the boys there after they'd shower and towel dry their hair would comb their hair and spray. Everybody was spraying these tiny little cans of hairspray meant for men, and literally the locker room was just covered in alcohol fumes, right?
Okay, church it up, Jose. A hairspray for men. It's like calling a bag a man carries around a purse instead of a purse. I carry a purse, a bag, whatever you want to call it. I have no problem with that, personally. Hey, Hawk says that it became popular in the 50s, and Joe says January of 41. I'm not sure. I think I missed something. But anyways, yeah, Mike says he hadn't used deodorant since high school. And I rarely use it because the fact of what it contains, some carcinogens and stuff. But out of societal pressure, if I go out to some event, I do put it on. So I hand it back to you. There's Abel. If you can hear him barking in the background, I love him. He's such a cool dog, Brazilian Mastiff. Which, by the way, man, he's got the fighting techniques. He goes up, goes down. I know where Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was invented. And that's because of the dogs, I'm sorry. Anyways, I'm muted. Back to you, Jose.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I'll allow the information that you were given that those two guys found, but I will argue that deodorant was invented somewhere in the late 40s to early 50s. Women used it a lot, but women represented less than half the market, and it was in the mid 70s when they decided to market it towards men. Men didn't wear deodorant because men sweated a lot and deodorant wasn't going to help them anyway. It was only in the 70s when they started marketing to men these deodorants and these hairsprays. Well, the hairsprays were a flop. Men tried, those hairsprays for a while, and then, they went out of business, but the deodorant stuck on. Men started realizing that you could go out there discoing and still smell good even though you were all sweaty. But anyway, and of course, if you want to take that to another extent, remember that divorce peaked in 1978. The divorce rates peaked in 1978 and then again in 1980 and have been falling ever since. Now, the reason divorce peaked back then, I attribute to the pill, the birth control pill, and the women's rights or women's liberation movement, especially the Equal Rights Amendment that was very popular. It's actually been on the books for who knows how long, maybe almost a century. But it was in the mid-1970s when it became very popular, and it looked like it was going to pass. And that's what I attribute the peak in the divorce rates. Now, as you peak in divorce rates, and then the divorce rates started lowering ever since 1980. I point out, I like to ask people, why do you think divorce rates have been dropping ever since the ever since the 1980s? And most people get it right. They say because less people are getting married. Well, why are less people getting married? And I think, well, because less people have to get married, mostly because women don't need a man anymore. But it may also be that deodorants, antiperspirants, and by the way, there is a difference between an antiperspirant, which stops you from sweating. It's actually stopping a bodily function, and a deodorant, which is alleged to stop you from stinking. Okay?
I got to interrupt it. That's like sticking a plug in the posterior end of yourself. Why do you not want to let a bodily function happen?
Yeah, I agree.
For the crudeness.
Yeah, I agree. Even if you have diarrhea, you still want to let the flow go, right? I mean, you don't want to really stop it up. You may want to stop it from the inside, but you don't want to stop it from the outside. And I hate to even say things like that because there's manufacturers out there that are trying to figure out a way for you to swallow a pill that'll make you stop stinking. Now, when you think about that, if you know a little bit about the human body, it is not your body that is stinking. It is actually the feces or the excrement of the bacteria that is eating your sweat and or your skin when it gets sweaty, right? Because your skin, it's not like a flesh-eating bacteria, but your dead skin that once it becomes wet and sweat, the bacteria is able to devour it. And then they they poop or pee, whatever the case might be, and that's what actually smells. Now, people say, well, yeah, when I eat onions, my sweat smells like onions. Well, yeah, your sweat smells like onions, but it's not the onion or your sweat that is stinking. It is when this bacteria eats your sweat and then goes through its life cycle. That's what causes you to smell. That's why when you actually going out there, you're playing basketball or you're jogging, whatever, you can start sweating, but you don't stink until 30 minutes later because that's the cycle of the bacteria, not the cycle of your stink. Now, these companies are trying to come up with a pill that make you stop stinking. What it's going to do is it's going to start putting something in your sweat that makes the bacteria not want to eat it. Well, if the bacteria doesn't want to eat it, that's a natural part of your life. The bacteria doesn't want to eat it. What the heck are you eating that's making you do this? Enough about stinking. We're talking about Mr. Right and Miss Right. Right? We're talking about the myth of a soulmate, the myth of someone out there is for you. Now, these are sadly some of the things that have created or maintained the divorce rate. When you get together with someone you think is Mr. Right or someone you think is Miss Right, are you having reasonable or fair expectations of this person? If you think you have gotten Mr. or Miss Right and you hook up with this person, Are you really setting yourself up for a lifetime of happiness, or are you setting yourself up for disappointment? The fact is, your soulmate is a myth. Now, you might find somebody for whom you're willing to bend over backwards. And this somebody may be willing to allow you to bend over backwards for them. But that's hardly a soulmate. And it's a sad truth. But when you think you found your soulmate, what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for a disappointment, because there is no way in heaven or on earth or in hell, depending on whatever religion you follow, that the person you consider your soulmate can ever live up to that title. The person you consider Mr. Right, the person you consider Miss Right, will disappoint you, because those people, Mr. Right, Miss Right, soulmate, that person out there that's meant for you and you only, are figments of your own imagination. And unfortunately, you will have to go through a heartbreak and a breaking up of a relationship to come to that realization. So the faster you snap out of that way of thinking, the more likely you're going to find someone whom will tell you and to whom you will express, hey, you are the person I have chosen to spend the rest of my life with you. And hope that person tells you, you are the person I have chosen to spend the rest of my life with you. And then reciprocate in action, not so much in words, but in action. Because the words are important too, but the body language has to express the action, right? Because you can tell somebody, hey, yeah, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Yeah, but right now I got to go fishing with the guys. Yeah, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. But after I get back. By the way, do you know how to clean fish? Your actions have to express, hey babe, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Right now I'm going to go fishing. You're welcome to come with me. I want you to come with me. But if you dislike fishing, I understand that. You can go do your own thing while I go do this fishing. What do you think? See, this is the way you kind of express these things to you. And the wording is important. I see all these memes. Are they memes or memes that pictures that have these silly slogans and stuff that are really designed to, basically ruin relationships than they are to help relationships. But I see these memes out there that say things like a real friend is one that'll slap you when you're saying something silly. And I'm like, that's the kind of crap that people who are incapable of maintaining a real friendship say, because they don't want to have to apologize for not knowing or for having the wrong kind of behavior. I'll tell you what, if you think you're my real friend and you slap me because you think I'm being silly, you're probably going to get a knife. You're going to be on the pointy end of a knife. And if you have a gun, well, I got some too, right? You think you can slap me? You think that slapping me, qualifies you as being a real friend? Well, forget it. And guess what? If you think you're going to get in a romantic relationship with me and think that you're going to be my friend and slap me, well, let's see how long that lasts, right? We have to get down to earth. We grow up in our families when we deal with our brothers and sisters or our cousins or our neighbors or just people in our family, that is our practice on how we should treat other people. Now, we do tend to be ruder to our families, and that's a precursor to how your relationship is going to be. Because if you think it's okay to, tell your sister or your brother to shut up or to F off or something like this, then you're going to think it's okay to speak that way to your spouse, to your lover, or to your romantic partner. And if it's hard, if it's difficult for you to say to your sister, to your brother that you love them, or to your mother or your father, what chance do you have of being able to say that to somebody else? Okay, now back. These are problems that we have in looking for a mate, and I know that a lot of us treat our family, our siblings, really bad, and we think it's okay, but it's not okay, because that's a precursor to our relationships with our family members are our practice on how we're going to have a romantic relationship later on in life. Now, some of us out there are already, up there in years and age, and you're thinking, well, it's too late to change. It's always the right time to change if you care to do so. Now, getting back to finding these Mr. Rights. How do you find Mr. Right? If you're a man and you want a woman, if you want a woman looking for a man. Okay, let me hold on. Let me back up. That's what I get for trying to read in the chat room. Okay. Men complain that women just want men, or just want a man for their income potential, and that is pretty much what patriarchy is all about, right? Men are only good because they're a potential paycheck and they can provide protection for the woman, and so on and so forth. Well, in these days, that women can have their own job and often make some pretty good money. And although I know there's a disparity between incomes, men and women, but some women still make some pretty good money out there. They can support themselves. They can buy their own home. They have their own shelter. They can buy their own gun. They can protect themselves. And not only that, some of them actually take taekwondo or karate or kung fu or whatever, and can really take care of themselves. Some women, like what was her name? Survivor chick, prepper chick. I'd hate to meet her in a dark alley when she's hungry. You'd have to, so women can really take care of themselves. So really, very few women still are looking for a man for his income potential, but there are some out there. There are a lot of women out there. Now, if you want a woman looking for that, then flaunt your income. If you're a man and you want a woman that you want to save, you want to be the patriarchal hero, you want to take her under your wing, you want to tell her, hey, look, I'll be your knight in shining armor, then go ahead and flaunt your income potential in places where such women hang out, right? I don't know where these women hang out. Do they go to church? Who knows? At the grocery store, go do your shopping in a 3-piece suit, or a shining armor suit, or whatever the case might be. But advertise what you want. Now, when you meet one of these women and all she wants to do is stay home and spend your money, well, that's what you were looking for, right? Remember, that's what you were looking for. Okay? Look for your mate in places where you hope to maintain a happy relationship, and stop using the lines to trick a mismatched woman or a mismatched man into becoming a potential mate, because all you're looking for is a one-night stand, or you're looking for a long-term relationship in places where women who just want one-night stands look, or you are a woman looking for a long-term relationship in places where men look for one-night stands. Let's be serious. Get serious. Stop thinking that you can find a mate, trick him into thinking you're something else, and then you try to change that person into liking the person that you are. This is a recipe for disaster. And even though we should accept and embrace the different cultures of our mates, we must be reasonable to avoid added obstacles. Unless, of course, you enjoy a challenge. In which case, make sure that your choice in a partner also enjoys, such challenges. Okay, now, I'm speaking to you on this internet radio program. The internet is awesome. You know, when I was first introduced to computers back in the early 1980s, I took a computer course, and we were told, wow, computers are going to make everything easier. Everything's going to be easier. Okay, fine. In the late 1980s, I was managing a pawn shop, and we used to write the pawn tickets by hand. And my company, which was the largest pawn shop chain in the world at the time, I think it still is, they decided to computerize the writing of these pawn tickets. And so they sent a crew into my store, and they said, these are your computers. Computers are going to make everything easier. And guess what? They were right. It especially made it easier to make mistakes. I noticed that right off the bat. We had more mistakes because now we had a computer, and we were able to make these mistakes faster. Okay. Same thing applies in relationships. We have online dating. We have chat rooms where people can chat and present themselves to potential mates and so on and so forth. Okay, is it better? I have spoken to several couples who have actually met on the internet and taken my courses, my relationship enhancement courses, and I have married them myself, performed the vows and married these couples, and they're doing all right. I've also met some couples that met online, and I married them, and now they're divorced, right? What is the difference between meeting somebody online through a computer or meeting somebody in person? What is the difference? It's faster. It makes things easier. I agree with you, Trailer Park. Yeah. It's actually not good because it only makes things faster. Well, so you can actually go through 10 heartbreaks in 5 years as opposed to 10 heartbreaks in 10 years, right? Now you have to ask yourself, realistically, if the person you have met online is so good, why is that person online looking for a mate? Why has that person yet to be hooked up with somebody as a mate? This is a very serious question. Now, if you're looking online just to have fun, have at it. Just make sure you're making that clear to whomever you're having fun with, because a lot of people are online, mistakenly so, looking for a permanent mate. And it's embarrassing to see these people go out and really think that you are a potential till death do us part type mate when all you're trying to do is have fun on the internet. Is there anything wrong with that, really? Is there anything wrong with just wanting to have friends on the internet and flirt and joke and so on and so forth, right? And remember that the important thing is when you do come up to somebody. Now this is key. We should all have this tattooed on the palm of our hands so that when we do a facepalm thing, we can remind ourselves, right? Just because you really like the person with whom you are considering a potential romantic relationship with, does that mean that person has to like you for the same reason? Remember, we're talking two different people. The only person you can control is yourself. And then you have to watch your step when it comes to these things. And I'm all for, going out there and, have all the sex you want and stuff. But remember that there's consequences to having sex, especially this day and age. Sex can still kill you if you do things wrong, right? We had that whole AIDS scare in the late 70s or all through the 80s. It kind of sort of died down in the 90s. Well, now we found out that there's, a potential cure for AIDS or a better prevention for AIDS and all this kind of stuff. But it's you. I refuse to sit here and tell you don't be having sex. But sex is one of the ways that traditionally, regardless of what system, what social system you're in, sex is a commitment, right? It's a commitment. Even people who have lived in the jungles all of their lives and are walking around without any clothes, even they know that when you have sex, you have a potential for pregnancy, right? And even in jungles where there's very little disease, there are still consequences to having sex. So when you jump into bed first at the first go, you are already pushing the relationship, and therefore, if what you're looking for is Mr. Right or Miss Right, is this what you want as the basis of your relationship? Especially for us older folks out there, right? I mean, yeah, we might be, past menopause and so on and so forth. We don't have to worry about pregnancy. We still have to worry about venereal disease. We still have to worry about, what it's called now, sexually transmitted infections, STIs, or sexually transmitted diseases, STDs. Who knows what they call them nowadays, right? But mostly, if you're doing this because you're looking for a till death do us part type of partner, jumping in the sack is kind of giving license to love them and leave them, right? Unless you have established this ahead of time. Dark Lord scares me sometimes, but you're welcome, Dark Lord. Anyway, 10 minutes to go, and I've kind of run out of material. I'm risking repeating myself now. I guess it's a good time for Vince to come on and we can, exchange ideas, or I can go into the chat room and peruse.
Come on, let's peruse together, brother.
Thanks for saving me.
You bet. I'm bouncing back and forth here and dropping some links. And thanks, Sharon, for joining in tonight. Trailer Park Homesteader and .com, and also on Facebook. Shares a lot of good information going back to prepping and survival. We're all just people out here in the world trying to get along. And hey, let's try to make it a better day for the next person we come across. Give a howdy or a smile anyways, right? Also, shouting out to Jaja. I got all our links I dropped in there. I love that radioactive outro. I'm working on a new intro. I really, really hate that I will be losing at last from Phyllis Sinclair. It's a perfect mantra. It found me, as did Jaja's Radioactive. Hey, Chuck, welcome in. Chuck and David's coming up. Drew, I think, 2 or 3 of the fellers from Double Cross Radio. They're coming up next. That's one of the most important programs that I find right here on UCY.TV, because they're looking at doing a republic out there and not a 51st state, which there's some controversy going on that between, I guess, peoples, but we have to look to doing things different here in America, and I think it's time that we actually take the role of leadership like we've supposed that we have been throughout history, and let's do it right. Let's spread liberty and that message of freedom. Really, really great place to be. There's some other people I mentioned earlier and more that I could mention also that you'll find right here on UCY.TV. Hey, Jose, I really appreciate you coming in, brother. You're, some people don't get it. Why are we talking about relationships? Well, basically it is the bottom line, aspect of human nature. And, that's what most people do. They pair off. I've been single for a long, long time now, since way back when. Before the new millennia. I find that's easier for me. Maybe I'm selfish. I don't know. But anyways, I think it is a very important topic that you discuss, and we have to we can take lessons from that on how we relate with each other too, because we're understanding one another and how we react, and I think it's very important.
Yeah, exactly. Especially like I mentioned before. I mentioned earlier tonight. How you treat your friends is very likely how you treat your mate. Now some friends are really good friends, but at the end of the day, they might be glad that they can go home and leave you alone, right? So you do have to watch that. Your friends is how your friends is, you practice being with your friends when you were with being with your mother and your brother and your sister and your father and so on and so forth. Heck, you practice being with your friends, how you treat your dogs or your cats. Okay. And then your friends is how you treat your mates. I did skip that step in there, but basically, when we're young, we're learning how to be people. I have found that because I'm old enough to have seen, children grow up. By the time a child is the age of 3 or 4, how they treat the people around them is pretty much how they stay the rest of their life. It's very difficult to change, especially if they fail to recognize that they need change. Hey, I wanted to ask you off topic. What happened to the show that comes on before you do, Vince?
And before I go there, thanks Becky for listening in. I'm always glad for your feedback. We're all great friends on Facebook, and always glad that she takes part. Yeah, Justin, some life situations changed, and he had to do some things different, so he is away from radio at the time. He may come back, I don't know, but he is definitely still a part of UCY and interacts here, and is probably going to be guesting on a few shows, I can imagine, coming on for at least a shout out and a howdy. Just in time. Yeah, we'll miss you, bro. Yeah, we have a new show that we broadcast now, and it's Act Local, or Vocal Local, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Vocal Local, but I think it's a pre-recorded show, because I actually remember hearing some of his stuff a couple of years ago, or longer, right?
Right.
But that's okay. I mean, I was enjoying it. I like listening. Thursday is the day that I do listen to online radio, and tell Justin that I miss him.
Yeah.
Already. I disagree with a lot of the stuff that he said, but it was mostly because I don't like it, not because it's not true, right? But if you ever get a hold of him, just tell him, hey, at least one person out there misses you, So I was listening. I didn't go into the chat room a lot because I don't do that well. I usually listen to his show while I'm preparing for this show and stuff, right? Never can tell when I want to jump in and on your earlier hour and give a piece of my mind.
Yeah, he was really a great anchor for me there, because I'd sit here prepping for the show and sharing stuff around and promoing and so forth. That it was good to sit here and be sitting here listening in. And when I was out there in the desert, I was able to call in, and another time when I lost internet, I was able to call his show and say help, and Dan was on with them, and from Primer Time. A lot of great people here at UCY. Chuck Ocelli, who hosted for me while I was out there in the desert, man. Ocelli Effect on Saturdays. Yeah, we got a great lineup on Saturdays. It's that's a really big day with geoengineering and some other shows. iCureCancer.com. Ian Jacqueline. Jose, you're on my mind. I see your name right there in front of me. It's almost like Jose Mongales. It's
was that what it? Yeah, I did. This chat won't let me capitalize past the first letter.
Oh, what are you gonna do? Wouldn't let me either. So.
Yeah, but nobody really pays attention to your name anyway because you got that picture on there to let people know who you are. Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
You're one of those show-offs,
Yeah, I'm gonna put one up in a underwear ad. I'm gonna do a underwear ad.
Oh yeah, are you?
Hanes, yeah. With just wearing my Hanes and a cowboy hat.
I can't do underwear ad. It would be like a hypocritical thing.
Like that movie Cowboy Way. That is so funny with Woody Harrelson. He's a great actor, man. Yeah. Well, we're coming up. Let's see. We've got about less than 2 minutes before we go out. Remember, stay tuned for Double Crossed live from the Jefferson Republic. And some always good information there. Thanks again, everybody, for joining in. Big love, y'all. Let's make a difference. And like the preceding show, act local or vocal local. Be vocal local.
See, now you're just repeating yourself. I got something to kill some time. I can remind people that I have been Jose, and that the opinions expressed by me are my opinions based on my research, observations, my client interactions, and are hardly to be blamed on Vincent or other producers or sponsors of this show or affiliates with this program. There you go. I killed you like 15 seconds there, right?
All right.
Maybe I speak too fast.
Becky's giggling. Yeah, I really am proud to be here and really enjoying it. I got some big stuff coming up. I'm getting a website, partnering with, the Liberty Beacon, looks like, and, they're gonna give me a website, and all I got is a little banner up there, but I've been looking into them, and, some really great stuff going on there. I've got a new group I've started, love and peace, y'all. We're gone.
All right.
The USA is crumbling. Y'all sit back, dumb as shit. The mass invasion, the home invasions. The CPS is coming to snatch your babies. These confiscations, the conversations. They're operating within the zones we're trading. We're in the matrix, now we're totally raided. They infiltrated, finally the devil gave in. If you can't hear me, then pump up the volume. McDonald's, Bin Laden, Osama, Obama. Bring up something real, legalize marijuana. Everything on a bong hit is as blunt as katana. Radioactive, intergalactic, counterattacking, the main attraction. Make it happen, matter of